Thank you very much for having me because for me, I have almost 3 months that Richard invited to this group. I have been telling my wife, this is my wife, that this is a wonderful group. Really, I have been enjoying being with you and giving me the opportunity to tell my story. For me, I'm honored on that. So I'm gonna try to give insight of what was our case, how we decided to overcome it. My hero is here, that he really was my support. And the things I'm doing today is supporting the hosted cause. So this is my presentation. It says, it's called From Captivity to Freedom, embracing the resilience in the power of hope, love, and faith. Because this is something that without hope, without faith, and without the love of our family, will never happen. So, going back to my introduction, this is really something that today I'm speaking loudly. This is related to the resilience. People talk about resilience, but really resilience is something that can be anything. But resilience is when you go to any adversity and you bounce back. That is resilience. And the way the six, because we were six, I'm gonna show you the other five guys. The way we did it was something that today I don't know how we did it. When we came back, we stayed in a military base in San Antonio with all these militaries there, knowing our story. And when we wrap up after 2 weeks, that guy came to us and said, "You are remarkable. I don't know how you did this." So well, I have been thinking all this time about that, and I decided to create a coaching program related to that. So this is my family. This is my family. These are my two kids. This is her. This photo for me has a lot of power because, by the way, this photo went viral, 1 million views in Twitter. Because when my son came back, staying 4 years taking care from me from Colombia, this was the day he came back when I was released. And I posted the photo and she went with him in Colombia and he was coming to Miami. It was 1 million views, that photo. So these are my grandsons. And this is my youngest grandson. You will see that he was who received me when I came back. So these are the Citgo six. We were 6 guys that were executives here in Citgo. I was the president at that time, and the other 5 guys were my top executive. This was the VP of refining, in charge of all the refinery. This was the VP of public affairs. This was the VP of shared service, everything related to HR, safety, and all the stuff. This guy was the supply guy, everything related. Here are people, tankers, this type of things. And this guy, he was the VP of the Corpus Christi refinery. So a bunch of VPs with the president, we went to a business trip, and this situation happened to us. And this is a photo for me, it's emblematic, but I'm going to talk about this photo. This photo was taken when we were there. It has a meaning for me. And this photo was taken 3 months ago when we gathered in Washington. This is in front of the White House. This photo has, for me, some meaning because that photo is from May 2020, when we were in that moment, the COVID was hitting hard in Venezuela, and I got COVID. And I got COVID, and they didn't want me to say that I was having COVID. So they literally re-kidnapped me. So I was kidnapped, and they kidnapped me again. They put me in a facility. Nobody knew where I was. My wife didn't know where I was. And one of the guys, this guy, he called his wife and said, "Jose is disappeared." I had 10 days disappeared. So my son, that by that time was having contact with the journalist, called one guy of AP. The guy put it in all the news, and what's up? a bunch of noise, so these guys brought me back, and they forced us to do this video. And this video was released by the Foreign Ministry of Venezuela. So for me, this is a video, and it's funny because it's like when the Colombian guerrilla does proof of life. That was this guy. So these guys were kind of crazy. So, but I'm going to talk about what happened to us. Let's begin. This situation happened in November 27th, November 21, 2017. In August 26, when Harvey hit it here, the same day, the administration that was in place here, the Donald Trump administration, imposed the first sanction to Venezuela because that government was really going really bad, the situation, and was declared illegitimate. They did some fake elections, and the situation began to go really bad there. So the administration decided to impose those sanctions. I was here when this first sanction happened, and I saw that something was going wrong. And I told my wife, you know what? I think it's time that I'm going to retire. By that time, I had 35 years working in PDVSA and Citgo. And I flew in October of that year to Venezuela, and I talked with who was my boss, that was the energy minister. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get retired. I'm done with it. And he accepted me the retirement. So I was supposed to get retired in February 2018. And this happened in November. I never got retired. I was with her. We went to a movie that day, November 18. November 18, it was a Saturday. And I'm a big Marvel fan, very big Marvel fan. So it was the worldwide Superman movie. So, so we decided to go. I was in the movie with her, seeing Superman.
I am not very fond of.
But she was with me. And I began to receive a phone call. I always was using jackets all my life. So I had the phone here in the jacket, and the phone began to ring and ring. And I told her, somebody's insistent. And I took out the phone, and when I saw, it was my boss. And he said, you have to come tomorrow to Caracas to an urgent meeting. What is that? No, it's a budget meeting. It's a big budget meeting. I said, okay. For me, was normal because working in PDVSA and working in Citgo was very normal, doing this business trip like this every time. You working, you're shaking your head because and Richard, you were there. So PDVSA had that type of culture, that always the urgency. There is something they said it in Spanish, when you want it, para ayer. When you want it, for yesterday. That was typically the way always they ask you things. When you want the thing, for yesterday. So everything was on the rush. So for me, was a business trip. I had the plane. I told him who has to go with me. These 5 guys, they flew with me. The other day we were in a plane headed to Caracas. November 19. We landed in Caracas, and the meeting was done. The meeting occurred. Was a big meeting. Was 1,000 people in a meeting room, maybe bigger than the one that is beside. And I did a presentation because by that moment we were revamping the Aruba refinery in Aruba. We were revamping the refinery, and I presented the project of the revamping of the refinery. And the meeting finished. Everybody standing ovation, grand presentation. I sit it down. When I sit it down, I saw a bunch of guys coming with these kind of Robocop outfits. More than 20 guys came in the room, and when I saw those guys, and they were coming to me, and they asked for me. When I saw those guys, they had here I a yellow stamp that said DGCIM. And the guy that was beside me, I said, what is the DGCIM? The guy was scared to death. He said, this is the counterintelligence military police of Venezuela. What they're doing here? There was coming from me. So they asked for me, and that guy that was with me, he understood that this guy wanted to do like a show. And so he handled and he managed to put us in a separate room. So we went to that room, and then appeared a general. I'm the general, blah, blah, blah. And you are charged, we were charged, espionage. We became spies, so I'm a spy. We became to be spies. We became to be treason to the country. We became to do embezzlement, corruption, and like 5 more charges. When I heard that, I couldn't believe it. I said, something's wrong here. So in that moment, I really thought that there really was something wrong. I really thought there was a mistake. And it was not a mistake. That day, from that day, they put us handcuffed, and we were translated to this military basement, a military basement 3 floors down in a place that they call the submarine. The submarine was a vessel without no windows, one locked door. There was no air conditioning. It was in the extreme situation, and that day became a nightmare. We stayed there 10 months without not knowing what was going in the world. They took us our watches. They had the lights 24/7 turned on. She didn't know what was. I was disappeared. And I didn't know the time. At some point, you lose the sense of time. At some point, you don't know what. One of the guys, he found in the floor like a small needle, and he began to scratch in the wall, the base. He began to scratch because it was a military installation. Somehow we heard when they were like marching. So we figured out that the march could be done at 6 a.m. in the morning. So we began to create like a cycle to not lose that sense of time. So at some point, we understood that the months were passing and passing and passing. And one day, they decided, and they gave me a phone call, 10 months after. They gave us a phone call, and when they gave us a phone call, I did a 1-minute call. I called her, and I said, I'm okay. And she said, we're fighting hard for you here. That day, I understood that they were doing a lot for us. So, maybe 2 weeks later, appeared a commission of the UN. They flew to Caracas, a commission of the UN. They flew a lady that she was from France, and a guy from Spain. They were UN. So they resided there, and they saw us. They went to talk with us. When they saw us, these guys were scared when they saw us because we were not aware of what was going on. I lost 100 pounds. I lost 100 pounds. And the other guys, this guy, let me see, where is that? This guy, Gustavo, I was really worried for him. He looked, have you seen the photo of the guys in the concentration camp? That was us. We were living in a concentration camp. And then, these guys of the UN, they went to the government, the Venezuelan government, and said, these guys are gonna die. They need to have food and they need medicine. Because by that moment was 2018, the situation in Venezuela was really terrible. Because all the sanctions and that government there was a lot of political unrest. In 2017, there was a huge political unrest. They killed like 40 people, 40 students, young guys were killed because of that situation. And we were in the jail. We didn't know what was going outside. But at some point, we figured out that the situation was really going bad because we saw that the food was terrible. Sometimes there was no food, and we began to languish there. So the UN pushed hard, and they accepted their family bringing us food. So my son, he flew to Colombia, and he stayed there 4 years, supplying me food and medicine during 4 years. So if he had not do that, well, we were dead. So this photo has been in all the news. I don't know, 250,000 views in Google. You can see it. This photo was taken in the front of that installation because they begin to give us, after the visit of the UN, they relaxed a little bit the situation. We had by that time like 1 year. So they decided to relax the situation and they began to give us sun. We weren't having no sun. We were without sun. We were literally locked down there. And guys, we were living like in a closet. It was like 100 square foot, living in a closet, literally. So they took us out and they took this photo. It's funny because this guy, he's a musician. he always was a marathon runner, and today he's gonna run the marathon representing our foundation in October in a marathon. So he's a marathon runner, so he dedicated his life to run marathons. So I was always joking with him because he's a musician. He told me that we have to record our long play, and this is gonna be the front of it. So this is our Abbey Road. We put this photo Abbey Road because it became our Abbey Road. So we stayed there 1,775 days.
Jeez.
So, well, when they begin to give us fresh air, they begin to provide food. First was 1 day in the week, was like the Wednesday. Every Wednesday we can have some food. Every Wednesday, one food in the week. So then then we had two days. Then at some point it was 3 days, and at some point it began to be all the days. So she was literally supplying the food every day. Usually it was terrible because my son was purchasing the food in Colombia. He was sending by a courier to Venezuela. Somebody picked it up. A guy that, it's funny, that guy was my driver all my life. He was my driver, and he became my friend. And he stayed with me all these years. He came and talked with Mervis and said, you know what, Mervis, Jose did so much for me because he was my driver during 20 years. And he said, Jose gave me so much that I'm gonna stay with him. And he stayed with me until the last day. He stayed with me. And his wife began to cook me. So they were supplying the food to him, so he put it, his wife cooked, and then he delivered the food in some cans. And for me, that was something that I decided to, because we were not having communication. Sometimes we had 1 minute or 2 minute phone call, because the way this guy handled the situation was that if somebody did something wrong, they did what they call collective punishment. So she flew 3 times to Caracas to see me, and she never could see me. So she was there waiting to see me, and they canceled the visit. And she came back 3 times. I called her, don't come back, don't come back. And she never come back until I came back here. So when we received those food, I said, I'm gonna do something. So I told the guy, I managed to talk with this guy that bring me a pen. So in the food, he put a pen, and I told him to bring me the food packed in some kind of wraps that I could write. And I began to write. So I wrote her a letter. So when she received the first letter, she told me that she was scared because this guy, he took the letter from the can, he took a photo, and then he sent it. So when she received it, she did the same, and 2 days after, I received a letter. Guys, we stayed 3 years doing that. We stayed 3 years sending letters to us. Every 2 days, I received a letter of them. So I knew what was going with my family. We developed a secret code. We had a secret code. So we decided to have some codes. I remember that because during the Trump administration, they were having meetings with Pompeo every month. So for me, Pompeo was the volcanic guy, Pompeo. So the volcanic guy, when we talk about volcanic, he was Pompeo. And then there was a guy called Elio Abrams. We put a code to everybody. Blinking was parpadeador. In Spanish, parpadeador is blink. So we developed a secret code.
Well, you were a good spy, weren't you? You were a good spy.
Yeah. We developed a secret code. And when I came back,
Joe Biden was uncle.
the uncle Biden was because they were having. She went 2 times to the White House. She was receiving the White House 2 times, and you went to the State Department, I don't know, every month. She was every month with Pompeo, and with Blinken you met, I don't know how many times. 2 times with Blinken. So this became to be a high politics, a very high politics, because by that time we were really going through the politics between Venezuela and we were in the middle. We became the bargain chips of the situation. So we managed those letters, and when I came back, those letters, I decided to convert it what's going to be my book. So because she had the brilliance that she took those letters that were really very handwriting, I don't know, I couldn't read it. She knew how to read it, she transcribed it in Word. When I came back, she already had those 1,000 letters. So we put those 1,000 letters, and that became what is going to be the book. And one day, October 1st, because the situation began to evolve. And when the administration changed, by that time in 2019, because now I'm part of the hostage community, I was not aware about that situation. I thought by that time that we were unique. So it was not the case. One day I received a letter from her, and she said, hey, they went to the White House, and then after the meeting at the White House, there was like a dinner, and she met all the families that had people around the world. That day, she knew that there were people that were in Russia, in China, in Iran, North Korea, Yemen, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Cuba, all over the world, America.
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Bahrain, a lot of countries have Americans kept during years. So in 2019, the families, all the families were separated doing stuff, but at some point they began to do pressure. They began to do pressure, and there was created an act, the Congress passed an act that is called the Robert Levinson Act. Robert Levinson, because Robert Levinson is a guy that he was disappeared in Syria. His body was never found, 12 years. So in honor of him, that has his name. So what that act does, it began to give protection to the guys that were like me in that situation. So they created a designation called the wrongfully detained. So we're classified as wrongfully detained. What that means that now you're under the umbrella of the protection of the government. So they're going to do anything to bring you back. So in November 2021, we received a visit of a guy because they created a special office. The special office for Ocean Affairs is called the SPIHA, and there's a guy, he's an ambassador. His name is Roger Carsten. So every time you will see somebody ready, you will see a tall guy, 6 foot tall, with a beard. That is Roger Carsten. So you will always see him in the photo. He's a true spy because he never appears. He's the guy, he's the truth, he's the James Bond. We put him Captain America. For us, when we were in Washington, we gave him he officially today, we call him Captain America. Because really he's the true Captain America for us. So the guy stayed going. He went in December 2021 and he had a visit to us. I believe I have here that photo. This photo, this is him. Robert Carson. This photo was the day he visited us. How I got this photo is funny because I went to Washington to his office and he had it in his wall, and I said, "Hey, Ambassador, sorry, I need to take a photo." So I took a photo, and this is a photo. That's why I have it. Okay. So this is the office of the director of the prison. So the guy came and said, "Somebody from the U.S. is gonna talk with you." So that was the first time the U.S. officer visited Venezuela in 5 years. That was a revolution. You know, a official plane of the U.S. landing in Venezuela after 5 years was a big deal there. So this guy visited us and he stayed like 1.5 hours with us. And that day, I remember when he was going, it was funny because when he came, he saw that we didn't know who he was, but he didn't know that I was having communication with my wife. So I already knew that he was in the store. He went to the store of my wife. She has a store in Cyprus. So he was in the store with my kids and with her. So I was aware that the guy already visited my wife and he was coming to Venezuela. When he came, all of us knew that, like, who was this guy because we had seen photos of him. So what's funny because he brought photos with our family we could believe who he was, and we said, "Hey, we know who you are. We're already aware who you are." So what's funny because when he was going back, I told him, "Ambassador, I'm gonna tell you something that I read of the memories of Churchill. When the World War II was in 1940, London was being bombed, so he came here to the U.S. to talk with Roosevelt and ask him, to support in the war. And Roosevelt told him that they were not prepared to go to the war, but they're gonna support him. And they created this act that support the supply of ammunition and guns and battleships, etc. And that guy flew to UK, Churchill, and he did a speech in the parliament, and he said, "Guys, we won the war." And the guy said, "This guy is crazy. Yeah, being bombed." He said, "We won the war. U.S. is supporting us. I don't know when, but we won the war." I told him, "Ambassador, I don't know when, but we're gone." That day, I was convinced that we were gonna go. He visited 2 more times in March 2022. He went in May 2022. In March, he took this guy. He came in March, and when he went in May, he came with his hands empty. They were devastated because they said, when is gonna finish? And I was telling her, I'm gone. I was ready to go. I prepared my small luggage and I have it in a corner. I told her, I'm gonna go, and this is the luggage that I'm gonna take. I'm gonna go. October 1st, 5 a.m. in the morning, knock the door. Hey guys, dress up. For us, dress up was putting this, we call the minion outfit. Every time when they put us, they say, "Hey, minion outfit, guys." The minion outfit. No, and the guy said, no. Put your civil things. You're free. And we said, "What the free means? You're gone, my friend. You're gone." Well, let me tell you. They put us in a plane in Caracas. They put us handcuffed. They tied us our legs, and they were going to put hooks. When the guy brought the hooks, I said, no, I'm not going to put me a hook. I began to get scared because these guys are really bad. I said, well, these are I'm gonna throw in the middle of the sea. I don't know what. So the guy told us, you're gonna have a 1.5 hour flight. And we said, for Houston, it's 5 hours. Where we landed? I said, are we going to Cuba? So we really didn't know. And we landed in a very tiny island very, very tiny island. The island is San Vicente and Grenadine. We landed there. 5 minutes after, he came, Ambassador Car. Here is, this photo is in the plane when we were there, totally packed. This is me.
The plane is.
And this is the plane where we came. So when I came back, this is my grandson that you saw with that. So he was born 3 years after. I didn't know him. I saw him in photos. So my daughter-in-law kept showing him my photos. So when I landed, he recognized me, and he began running to me. And that photo, well, for me, this is a moment we were releasing October 1st. So after I came back, so we understood that our situation was not unique. Was not unique. So in our healing process, because we went, by that moment we were covered by the U.S. government. Where they put us in a military base. They take care of us. They have a program called PISA, post-isolation treatment for PTSD. Okay, so after that, we went to a trauma center, and we began to figure out that this is a situation that was happening to other Americans. And they already had met with the other families, and one day they decided to stay together, and they created today what is their foundation. They are in part, that is the Bring Our Family Home campaign. So we, after that, they decided before we were released, because they were really making a lot of pressure. So they created a mural in Washington D.C. There is a mural with all the faces of 19 guys. This is me. So when I came back, I came back in October. This photo is November, 1 month after. So we took the photo, and I put this sticker saying "Welcome home." Freed after 1,070. Today, that mural is in Washington. So I have been doing a lot of advocacy for this community, because that day I did a speech there. We came back in July this year, again there. We did a speech in the White House. I went to the Congress. I was receiving the Congress to talk about this. And I also did a speech in the Foley Legacy Foundation that I'm going to talk about later. And I'm invited to Canada. There's going to be an event, a very big event. And I'm going to go in 2 weeks to the UN. I'm invited to the UN. Okay, so this is when I was in the Congress. This is in the White House in the front. This is the mural. We unveiled a mural here in Houston in July 4th. Today we have 2 murals. And this is the mural in Washington. This guy is Trevor Reed. This guy, he was releasing, he went back, now he's in Ukraine fighting. He went back to Trevor. I don't know what's going on with Trevor, but. And this is Matthew Heath. He's a veteran also that was kept in Venezuela. And this guy, this is David Levinson. This is the son of Robert Levinson. So today, we are part of that community and we advocate together. I'm honored to be a friend of him. And well, I have been going to the media. I was interviewing Wall Street Journal, talking about this. I did an article in the press. I did an article in the Foley Foundation. Today I have a newsletter that I write in LinkedIn every week, talking about this, raising awareness about this situation. I was interviewed by Anderson Cooper and CNN. I was interviewed by a bunch of guys, Time Magazine, Houston Chronicle, Wall Street Journal, Politico, Washington Post. I have been in Univision, Telemundo, ABC, CBS, all those chains. I have been on all those guys, always talking about raising awareness about the situation. I have done tons of podcasts. I have done podcasts in London, Manila, Manchester, Ontario, Mexico, Florence, Buenos Aires, San Diego, New York, Denver, Raleigh. I've done like 25 podcasts talking about this. I became very loudly about this, and this is a part of the podcast I have been doing, talking about this situation, always talking about this because I understood that this is something that has to be. This is the campaign we have, the Bring Our Family Home campaign, and this is the two murals. This is Brittany Greiner, she's part of our community today. And this is the guy, this guy, this is Austin Tice. He's a journalist from here, from Houston, has 12 years in Syria. This guy has 10 years in China. This guy is in Dubai. This was my neighbor, Aaron Berry. He was my neighbor in Caracas. This guy is in Iran, Bakr Namazi. This guy is in Iran too. This guy is in Iran. This guy is in China. This guy is with this guy in the same cell in Caracas. So this is a shame what is really happening with all these guys. And we are today connected with all these guys. I have been talking about this. I have been doing this, speaking in several events, and I have done all these events in Nevada, Dallas, I was last week. I'm going to be in New York, as I said, in 2 weeks. There's going to be a big event. There is a foundation called the Hosted A Worldwide that today we're part of the community, and they advocate for hostels all over the world. So they're going to come people from Belgium, French. They're going to come people from Belgium, French, Germany, UK, Australia, Philippines. So we're going to have a big meeting there. Because this is something that when I went to the Congress, I said that this is something that is becoming like a national threat. Because can you imagine you going to a travel for vacation with your family and get into this situation? So it's a shame because this is today called the hostage diplomacy. That is that if you're in the wrong place with the wrong passport, you can get caught in the middle of the situation because this doesn't have nothing to do with you. You become kind of like a vehicle, like a bargain chip of the situation. And it became really hard, the negotiations, because we come to be negotiation between two countries. So you get caught in the middle of negotiation in two countries. That was our situation. And, well, I have been doing this was what I did in Dallas last week. And as I said, I decided to convert this in a coaching program because I understood that our situation and somehow we managed it because we were 6 guys with a very planned mindset, strategic planning, all this stuff. And they said, okay, let's convert this in a program. So I created a program that's called Life Fit for a Surviving Guy, LPSG, that today I'm coaching. And basically is how to survive any adversity in your life. And I'm launching a new program now that is doing travel risk assessment to the companies. So this is something that I have a partner that we're marketing now. So if you know that anybody that really is interested, the idea of this plan is that people that have to travel abroad for businesses or people that have expats in any location, we created a program to do travel assessment, pre-assessment, assessment, and post-assessment about the situation because now we're connected with all these people and we decided to convert in something that can help others. Okay? And well, this has been those coachings that I have been doing. And now we are supporting all these foundations because for the hostel community, there are several foundations that today advocate for that. One is the Foley Legacy Foundation, Foley. Foley Legacy Foundation, this is a remarkable foundation. This is a foundation, she is Diane Foley. She is the mother, a journalist that was lost in Syria, James Foley. I don't know if you remember somebody that in ISIS decapitated in public, that is James Foley. Today, she was a nurse. She was a nurse and she decided to create this foundation. Today, the James Foley Foundation is the most powerful foundation here in the US to advocate for hostel community. She is involved in the change in the legislation today. So she is really, really heard in the Congress and in the government. Okay, this foundation, Hostel USA, is a wonderful foundation. Also, all these people do a lot of work silently. They don't advertise them too much because now I'm connected to them. This foundation, they take care of you when you come back. This guy had been taking care of my family, all the psychological treatment, physical treatment, things like simple like taking back your driver license back. It's amazing when I went to take my license, the lady said, "You have 5 years, disappeared, what happened with you?" The people don't know what happened with us. So this is part of the work they do. This is the hostel A work. This is we're gonna be in New York in 2 weeks with them. And then there are 3 more for our foundation that today is heard. And Brittany Griner, when came back, she gave a boost to the foundation because she was famous, blah, blah, blah. But this is the Richardson Center. This is a remarkable foundation. Unfortunately, Governor Richardson passed away like 1 week ago. 1 week, no? Yeah, he was the ex-governor of New Mexico. He was a very, remarkable guy. Unfortunately, he passed away. But his foundation, there is a guy called Mickey Berman that is the second on board. He's going to take his chair. They do a lot of what they call soft diplomacy. They do a lot of behind the scene. They were the guys involved in the coming back of Trevor Reed. They were the guys that were involved in the coming back of Brittany Griner. They were the guys involved in the coming back of us. They do a lot of work behind the scene because they are not the government, so they can do things, wiggle around that thing that maybe the government cannot do. That is the work of this foundation. And there is another foundation. This was a guy that also was killed, Ahmed Fakuri. Today they do strong advocacy. So these 6 foundations, today I'm involved with them. I'm supporting them. I go to meeting with them. I do speech with them. I write articles with them. So we have been really get involved with them, and that's why I came with my book. So the timing for me has been perfect because the book is that we're going to begin the pre-sale campaign of the book next week. Next week, the book is going to begin to be advertised. You can. So this is the report that Foley Foundation does yearly. This is a report they do every year, December, where they put the count of the Americans that are in captivity. The bad news that this has increased in 255%. So today, this is something that still is happening. So part of the intention of the meeting in New York is exactly that. Talk with the UN and say, hey guys, you have to do something. This is something that's becoming serious. It's not only the US, it's the UK, it's Australia, it's Belgium, it's France. So all these countries putting together, the conference is going to be in Canada, is going to talk about that. So really this is something that's become severe. So what I did is I decided, my book, as I said, is based on those 1,000 letters. But for me, because I tell my story, because I have to tell it. But for me, the book really is what I call the legacy. The legacy is what I think is meaningful after I came back, the things that would raise awareness about the hostage situation, and how anybody that can read the book and say, hey, this guy went through a lot of things and came back and he's still active. Wow, if this guy can do it, you can do it. I tell the people, if I can do it, you can do it. So this is part of my message that today I'm trying to give to the people. I'm very active in LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I have a community there. We do live audio. I have an audio event this night at 8 p.m. So I have a community where we talk with the people, we advise the people, we coach them one-on-one in some of them. People that really, today, I'm surprised how the people after the pandemic really have a lot of struggles. A lot of people hasn't recovered from the pandemic. So this is part of the thing they are doing today, helping the people, helping companies that are having problems with communications. And the way that the book, we're going to do a pre-campaign of the book in the brochure. at the bottom is this publicizer. Is where we're going to be launching in New York. We're going to have a meeting to launch the campaign. So we're going to be to do several type of pre-purchase. Okay, one is going to be pre-orders of one book, and part of the people that are going to pre-purchase the book, we're going to do a one coaching session for them and talking about what the book is. There's going to be some signed copies. The people that maybe want a signed copy, we're going to have some corporate sales. This is with a special recognition with a badge, and this is if somebody wants to buy a package of 5. And we're going to have also one special that is like a speaking gig. So if the person wants to some speaking, will be 10 copies with a speaking gig. So this, they call it bonuses. They're going to be there, but the thing is that all of them are going to support the foundations. I decided to give 30% of all the proceeds to support the foundation because I told them that I believe that this is the way I can back to them. They have been supporting us.
Yes, I have about 4 questions. 2 of them are serious, the other 2 is just kind of standard.
Okay?
One is whatever, you gave a speech, you said there's hundreds of people in that room in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
Whatever happened to the rest of those folks that were in there?
All of them.
What were you negotiated for? Did they trade something for you?
Yes. We came, sorry, I forgot to mention that. Yes, we came back through a prisoner swap. There was 2 nephews of Maduro here in a prison in New York. They were Florida. They were convicted for drug trafficking. They had like a 15 years sentence, and that was what happened. When we landed in the Caribbean island, this guy came in the plane of the U.S. and we came in the plane of the Venezuela, and then they walked to the Venezuelan plane, and we walked to the U.S. plane. Movie star. I was.
Now that you said movies, have you been confronted by anybody from Hollywood about making a movie?
No, I'm working with a Canadian producer that works with Nat Geo, Discovery, and Amazon, and with the streaming companies. I'm working with him, yeah. Okay. But I was concentrating first in the book, because before you have to have the book out before, so it's like having the book for me is like a milestone. So the book is going to be like the first to the movie. But yeah, I have months working with him. Yeah.
The other thing is, I was in New York City the other day, and I noticed a lot of Venezuelan cab drivers.
Yeah.
There's a picture in there very similar to your face. I was wondering if your driver's license had disappeared in.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Jose, can you share a little bit about your life
In the prison?
in the prison? You know, like, what did you do? How did you stay sane?
Well,
Did you have
this is a wonderful question. The way we decided to do this is something for me today like a miracle, because when we begin to receive books, they could begin to read. I was
2
reading
years
like,
after.
Huh?
2 years after.
2 years after they accepted us to have books. I began to read like crazy. They were sending books to us, and I read like 300 books, maybe 300. All reading, because we didn't have TV, nothing, only books. So there was a guy that he was a survivor of the concentration camps, World War II in Auschwitz. He was Austriac. His name is Viktor Frankl. He wrote a book called Men in the Search of the Meaning. I told you to read that book. Well, you had to read that book. Men in the Search of the Meaning was for me the light. Because that guy in that book, he said that the people that survive situations like we were going through is the person that have meaning in life. So you have to find your meaning in life. And we realized that our meaning was our family. So we got the 6th. And I remember that day we did like it was funny because we did like a board meeting. We sitting in the room, the 6 of us, and we began to discuss. Okay, so we passed a switch and we went to survival mode. Was 2 years after. So we created a plan. You know, this guy, for me today, this is remarkable because go back to, okay. Alirio, he's a plan guy. So he was converted a plan keeper. He became to be the plan keeper. Tomeo is a guy from refineries. We didn't have fresh water. So he made a calculation how much water a human being can use. So we figured out that you can use 15 liters of water. So we had this bottle of 5 liters. So we used three. With 3 bottles, we did everything daily. So we had we put it there in a locker. We had all of 40 bottles. Everybody only could use 3. If you use 4, the plan keeper went to you. Hey, stick to the plan, stick to the plan. So we created a plan. How was the plan? The plan was in the morning, the first thing was we had 3 bunk bed. So, no, we had 3 bunk bed. So the 3 bunk bed, we had a very tiny table. So I was the first to eat in the morning, 6 a.m., 5:30. I'm an early bird. So I sit down with my food that she was supplying to me. I have a small fridge with a small microwave. I took my food, I put it in the microwave. I sit down and I stayed eating in peace.
So did 5 other people sit there?
No, they were in their bed. The rule was nobody was there. Nobody was around. Everybody in the bed. The light turned off. No noise. The rule was no noise. If you had a small radio, earplugs. No noise. The light has some rules to be turned off and turned off. So after I eat, it came this guy. He was my partner he was in the top of my bed. So when I came to the bed, he went down, and then came this guy, and then came this guy, and then came this guy, and this was the most lazy. He was sleeping all the day. So we did the plan, and it worked because you were in peace, eating in peace. After that, we began to clean. Was the pandemic. We were cleaning like a crazy. That was a very sanitized place. Everyone clean you didn't have to do nothing. You knew when you had to clean. So when I was my day to clean, everybody to the bed, you were cleaning. After that, exercising. This guy, he's a marathon runner. He was doing a lot of cardio. These 2 guys did static running. I was with Alirio doing yoga and stuff. So everybody was doing things. After that, we begin to read. After that, we begin to write. After that, we play domino. We created some figures of domino with papers. We were playing domino. We had time to have fun. We played domino. And after that, we did something. We read the Bible, we prayed. And we started reading the Bible and praying 3 hours per day. So,
I heard that there was a 7th person that died.
Yes. Well, Lenzo Martinez, the guy that when I came to October, that he approved my retirement, he died in prison. Yes, he died the first year. And you know why he died? Because he didn't make it. He was not with us. He was alone. He was isolated. We had something that for me is a miracle. The 6 of us were long-term employees, 30-year plus employees, successful careers, more than 30 years married. I have 36 years with my wife. By the way, we renewed the votes 1 year before in a cruise in the Caribbean, having 30 years. Today we have 36. So all of us have more than 30 years. All of us have wonderful families. Our families became the creators of the Bring Our Family Home campaign. So we were not talking a guy that was divorced and the other with 3 marriages. No. We all had the same standard. So for us, we that became like a bond. Today we are like a band of brothers. When we met in New York and when we met here in July 4th, we were really laughing. And we're going to meet now in New York. When we met in Washington. We're going to see us in 2 weeks in Washington. These two guys are going to be with me in Washington in 2 weeks. So yeah, this became like a kind of like a bond. It became like a bond. So that's the way we decided to survive, because when we decided to do the plan, the days began to be fast, really fast. Every day was fast, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, and when it came October 1st, wow. I remember my daughter, when I was landed on the plane, she told me, Dad, you look like you were coming from a vacation, because remember that small luggage? I brought it back. I went with my luggage. I was like coming from a business trip, with my luggage. I said, I'm gonna be with my luggage, and I came back with my luggage. And my daughter said, hey, you look like you were coming from a vacation. You know what? Because I was in the plane when I was coming, I said, hey, Jose, you did it. So we felt proud of ourselves that we could do it, because this guy tried to broke us, never could. Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting they traded you 6 for 2 drug dealers.
But we're the nephews of the president, He wanted his nephews back.
You never mentioned Citgo in this whole presentation. Where were they through this whole?
Oh, well, this is something that today, I'm in the middle of a lawsuit with them. That's why I don't mention them too much.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
I prefer no remember that.
Well, they were not good with us, I can tell you.
The United States for years has said that they're not going to trade people out. Has something changed over the last 10 or 15 years where the U.S. is now finding methods like that?
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good question, because, yes, do you remember that when the 1979 Iran hostage crisis? By that time, the policy of the U.S. that they never negotiate on them. That is true. But you know who was the guy that broke the rule? Was this guy. When Trevor came back, was the first trade that was done. Trevor came back in April 2021. They traded him back. So it was a big deal.
He was in Russia.
He was in Russia. He was in the middle of the war. When this guy came back, was unimaginable that this guy coming back. So he came back. The Richardson Center, as I said, did a lot of behind the scenes work. But was a hard pitch, but it was supported by both parties. It was a bipartisan agreement. So today, the existing of all these foundations, the existing of the Act, the Robertson and Levinson Act, has changed a little bit the rules. And one of the anthems of our campaign is precisely that bring back Americans home and do whatever has to be done, have the moral courage to bring them back. Because I can tell you, now that today that I know all these families, we are connected. Melvis knows all the other wives. I know their kids. These two guys that were neighbors in Venezuela, I was gathering with them all the day. His wife lives in Germany. I met her in Washington 3 months ago. The father of these two guys, I met him one week after I came. I met Luke's dad here in Houston. So I'm connected to all these families today. We always are gathering, we talk, we met. So when you see the faces of the people, it's totally different. This guy in Austin, Texas, his mother, she's gonna be one of the speakers in Washington, in New York in 2 weeks. So when I met her in person, and you see the faces, you see the suffering of the people, it changes the perspective of the situation. But yes, the answer is that today there are some laws that now the situation has been evolving. It's still a hard pitch. It's still a hard pitch because these guys that are in Venezuela, they haven't come back because they're asking to trade them for another big drug dealer called Alex Saab. Because the way this work is they explicit ask for you. This guy, Bakr Namasi, and this guy, Emad Shaghi, and Murad Abbas, these three guys are today in Iran. They were asking to be signed a nuclear deal to get this guy released. And now they're asking to freeze some funds that are in a South Korean bank, $6 billion. So if this guy comes back, the U.S. has to release $6 billion that are freezed in a South Korean bank. So this thing became big deal. You are there waiting that something happened. To tell you the truth, when we came back in October, for me, it was a miracle. I would never thought that they would take the decision, and they took it. We came back. We came back. So, well, to wrap up, because I think, sorry that it took really long, but I wanted to put in perspective all the case. So for me, today, be part of this, support of these families, be part of the foundations. The way I'm gonna market the book is giving them back because I'm gonna be. They told me that even they're gonna support me in this. So when you go in the publicizer webpage next week is gonna be open, so the people that can go there and we'll see this foundation. So you can do it two ways. You do a click and it goes to all of them. Or if you decided to go individually to any foundation, because every foundation has their own task. For example, these are really, really concentrated in your physical and mental health. So if somebody wants to support them, well, only support them. So the thing that I'm gonna ask to you guys is that if you that are connected to any organizations that can really support this, I will really appreciate it. Because this is something that for me is going to be a way to give back to them. The way I'm supporting them, and I always tell all these foundations, they can come on me in anything they want, because I'm back because of these guys. These guys really did a lot of work to bring us back. For me, it's a miracle being today here talking with you. My wife, I cannot say how she did it. Today I said I went through a severe situation. I don't know how she handled it. She has a store that was open 1 month before this happened. And she had to be smiling to the people in the middle of this tragedy. So she stayed doing that. She stayed supporting me. Well,
What store is it?
In Cyprus, Le Macaron. And she has one here in Willowbrook, a kiosk here in Willowbrook. So it's called
in the middle of the shopping center. There are
what is Sarah and Nordstrom. You're gonna see the kiosk in the middle there. It's called Le Macaron. It's a French bakery, Le Macaron pastries. Yeah, macarons, yes.
We sell the macarons. The French dessert, famous. The crest is the famous. The second famous is the macarons.
Jose, I got one more question.
Uh-huh.
When you got home, how did you feel? What emotions did you feel? Your home.
Let me tell you,
your house.
I have been working like a wild stallion. I did an interview with Anderson 3 weeks after coming. I did an interview with ABC 1 day after coming. They went to the store, and sitting in the store, we did the interview. So she was opening at 11, we did the interview like at 9 a.m. in the morning. So when I went back to that interview to read it a few days ago, I said, wow, Jose, you 1 day before coming, you were talking the same thing that you're talking today. I can tell you, I was convinced when I was there, and I was telling my wife that when I come back, I was gonna do this. So I was like had the mindset that I said, when I go back, I'm gonna tell the world what's going on with this. I'm gonna talk on this. So it was, I don't know, it was like a mission that I saw to do it. And I'm doing it, by the way. The first thing I did, the first thing I did when I came back was go to church. We went to the church. And the pastor today, he knows my case, and he's really supportive. And not only supportive, I love his speech, because his speech resonates so much in me, because today, for me, It's a message of how you can overcome adversity and bounce back with resilience, but with the support of your families, with your hope, and with your faith. Because this is something of faith. When we were there, she was sometimes down, and I was telling, because in the last year when Ambassador Carson was going back there, the situation changed with that. We were allowed to have more phone calls. They allowed us to bring a small TV. So the situation, the last year was a little bit more relaxed. I was talking more frequent with her. So I was telling her, Mommy, I'm gonna come back. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm gonna come back. I was convinced that I was coming back. It was a surprise that day, but I was convinced that was going to happen. So for me today, the faith is when you believe in something that you don't see. That is the base of the faith. And I was not seeing it, but I was believing in it. And part of that is your spirituality, going back to God. God, for me, in all this time He was there, always. Today, I can see that He was always there. He was protecting us, because even in the worst case, He was always protecting us. So I'm not saying that it's easy. Has been complicated. She and my sons went through so much. My sons today, they say, Dad, I'm done with you. I'm done with you. I want to move on. So they take care with me so much, because my two sons, the oldest, he was in Colombia taking care, and the other was with her in the store. When I came back, they said, bye-bye. Yeah, it was 5 years. Because the problem with this situation is that the people put their life in pause. Because it's not only you that are in jail, it's them. Really, them are in jail because
There are no celebration, anything.
There's no celebration.
No birthdays, no
birthday, no anniversary. She was invited for a friend to go to a movie. She didn't want to go. My sons, they told me that they stopped going to parties because they felt bad. So everybody goes in pause. So this is a terrible situation. So that's why today I'm really so strong with this, because really I understand the suffering of the family, because I was there. So for me, this is something people sometimes, it's difficult to understand. I remember when I came back, Gustavo, the guy was released before us, I had a 2-hour phone call with him. And I remember finishing the phone call, he said, Jose, only you and I can understand what we went through. Even if we try to explain to others, they will never understand what we went through. Only you and I can understand it. And it's like that. It's like that. You guys that maybe are vets in the war, they come back, so you only know what happened there. So that's the same situation for us. And today, I don't know, I see us in the future, and we're gonna have an anniversary October 1st. I was called yesterday by a journalist of ABC. They want to do an interview with the Citgo staff for October. I'm gonna talk with them if they want to do it. I would be awesome to be the 6 in a room talking, but I don't know, because everybody is handling the situation different. One of us today is a marathon runner. I'm doing all this stuff, and the other guys decided to go silent. They say they have a different healing process, and I respect that. Everybody handles this in a different way. Mm-hmm.
Well, this situation is not easy.
Thank you. So I really appreciate any support that you can do. There in the brochure, you have the publicizer webpage, and you have my contact. Anything that yourself or any organization